Hey everybody, welcome to the Patty G Show. I'm your host, Patty G. Today we are out here at Building 5. We're remote. We're out on the patio. It is a hot one in South Louisiana, so it's a little warm, but we're out here. We've got a good time. I've got Stephanie Bartage. Just kidding, her name is Stephanie Bartage, and we are out here going to be talking about everything that she does in the community and whatnot, which is so much that she does. I'm going to let her give that formal introduction because I don't want to miss anything. I know she's here, she's there, she's doing all this and that, so I'm excited to get to her episode. But before we do that, I want to give a big, wonderful shout out and thank you to the amazing folks that bring you this show each and every week. We've got Falaya Real Estate, Horizon Financial Group, Lake Men's Health Center, Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge, Mimosa Handcrafted Jewelry. Our location sponsor is Building 5 Restaurant. And you know our outfit of the day is always brought to you by McLavy Limited. Without further ado, Stephanie, welcome to the show. Bartage, welcome to the show.
It's pronounced Bartage. I know, it's so weird. Anyways, hi y'all.
I like it though. It opens itself up to get some flair if you want to, or kind of just go plain.
Yeah, like if I go to a really fancy place, I can be like, hey, I'm Miss Bartage. Well, yeah, so I'm very glad. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate you reaching out and making this happen. So who are you and what the heck do you do, Stephanie?
I do so much that I honestly forget about like every single thing that I do, and then I'm like, oh man, I forgot to mention. Okay, so first off, I have a very important job that is raising a 2-year-old toddler. I am artistic director and founder of a theater nonprofit, 225 Theater Collective here in Baton Rouge. We've been operating for about 2 years now, and we just opened our studio space off of Highland, so we're really excited about that. I'm the founder of a charity, the Romans 1212 Foundation, that helps children that need to undergo thymus transplants all over the world, which are only done in 2 hospitals in the entire world, by the way. So that's a little crazy. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, we're gonna deep dive everything once we get your resume in front of us. You know?
Are you writing it down? Are you writing everything
down?
I
got my pen and paper. I'm writing it down.
I also work for a local bilingual media company, Caras and Faces. We inform the Hispanic community in all of Louisiana. Let's see, what else do I do? I think that's it.
So we got three things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait,
and then then you were something kind of important.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Okay, well, to be fair, like I just started my pageant journey, so I haven't been doing it for very long, but I am representing Baton Rouge in the International United Miss Pageant in July, actually, so it's coming up, I think in 2 weeks.
Yeah. It'll probably be, I don't know when this episode will air, but it'll be right around that time.
Oh my God, that's so exciting. Okay, so I'll be listening to it over there in Orlando. That's cool. I actually represented Baton Rouge as well as Miss Red Stick in the Miss Louisiana USA pageant.
Okay.
That happened in February. First time mothers can compete. So, yeah, that was really cool.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start. Where do you want to start? What avenue would you like to go down first?
We can tackle on the theater stuff.
Okay, let's do the theater.
Okay.
So what do you do with the theater? How'd you kind of get started there? What is it?
Yeah. So 225 Theater Collective, as I mentioned before, is a nonprofit. Our mission is to bring more diversity on stage. Me being Latina, it was always hard for me to get casted in certain roles for onstage productions. And I was born and raised in New Orleans, so New Orleans is very diverse, but still I did have some difficulties in what it is the performing arts world. I moved to Baton Rouge about 3-4 years ago, and it was very different. It was like a culture shock. I was like, whoa, okay, how do I find myself here? And I went on a lot of auditions when I moved here, and then COVID hit, and then I couldn't do anything. And that really stunk, and I'm like, wow, okay, well, I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, because this is my career. Like, this is what I went to school for. And so I remember a time I was in college in a playwriting class, and our professor asked us, what do y'all want to do in 6 years, 5 or 6 years? And he went around the classroom, and I was like, oh, well, I want to open up a theater company. And I just remember everyone laughed. It was like
What?
it was like a movie. Like everyone was like not in the bad way, but just like, oh my God, Stephanie, you're so naive. Like you really
like,
think you can do this?
Wow.
Yeah. And so that always stuck with me. And so when I was here, I kind of reflected on that, and I was like, okay, you know what? I can do this. I know I can do this. And I have an amazing, supportive husband that helped me along the way. But yeah, here we are 2 years from that, and we're flourishing.
That's incredible.
So right now we're actually in the middle of rehearsals for our next production, The Shawshank Redemption, the stage adaptation. So that's exciting.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, but I think we'll do a good job.
So, I mean, kind of backing up a little bit
Sure.
to your college days, how did you kind of decide this path of this, this artistic route, going in the arts? What kind of led you and drove you to that area?
So I was the typical little girl that would like dance in the mirror and dance in front of make them watch me sing and stuff. And they were so sweet. They would always say, "Oh, you're so good." But to be honest, I didn't really have that much confidence growing up. I was heavier when I was younger and bullied a lot, and so my confidence was just on the ground. And it wasn't until college that I went in to study to be a vet tech, veterinarian technician. And I remember I was doing clinicals, and I just said to myself, this is not what I want to do. Like, it just hit. I know, I'm like, really, Stephanie, you're just figuring this out? I'm like, no, it was just very different than what I was expecting it to be. And I said, I'm not going to do something that I don't want to do. And so I went back and I changed my major to theater. I went to Delgado Community College in New Orleans, which they have a great theater department, by the way. So yeah, changed my major, just kind of jumped into this new world, and I loved it. I mean, from the first class that I took, I'm like, this is what I was meant to do, because I'm good at it. And like, it's kind of like you know instantly that when you're good at something.
Right. Like you can instantly say, well, not even if you're good at it, but you can tell, am I going to like this?
Yeah.
If it's like from the word go, are you enjoying it? And that's, for me, especially like with the show, it's like I sat down for the very first episode and fell in love with it and immediately knew, okay, I'm going to continue doing this.
Yes.
So it's obvious when it's so just, it hits you. It hits what you're supposed to be doing, and it all just clicks and makes sense.
Yes, and that was definitely the feeling that I had. So, I graduated from Delgado Community College with a degree in theater, and then shortly after that, got married and moved here, and then, as I mentioned before, it was very different.
So what was different about it when you got here? I mean, what were your expectations moving from New Orleans to Baton Rouge?
Well, I was expecting there to be more, theater companies than there was. I know there's a couple of big ones here that have been here for a very long time, but in compared to New Orleans, there's just a big artistic avenue over there that maybe I didn't see off the bat as soon as I moved here, and so I was a little nervous about that. And then when I started to audition for things and I didn't get casted, I got really nervous, and I'm like, oh no, well, if I didn't get a chance in New Orleans, it's gonna be harder over here.
Right.
And it was. But luckily I was able to form this nonprofit that has given many people opportunities, people of color, opportunities here in Baton Rouge. And like I said, we're growing, and we continue to strive to bring more diversity.
So how did you go about creating this thing? Like, did you just go biz.com and just all of a sudden create this, 501c3, this nonprofit?
No, I do have to admit, my husband is an attorney.
Okay.
And so I had a ton of help. So he definitely was a gem in all of this creation of a nonprofit and everything, because I went to school for art. I don't know anything about
making a company.
Exactly.
Or exactly.
I mean, I've learned right now that I'm
right.
here, but he definitely helped start it up, and it was fun. Like I remember I created the website, and it looked really bad at first. There was a lot of YouTube tutorials that I was watching.
YouTube's your friend.
But I was on a mission. This is what I want to do. And our first production, I say production, it was a staged reading, but it was a staged reading where I had my actors basically perform while reading the text. So it was a lot happening, but it was a staged reading of The Great Gatsby.
Okay.
The stage version, obviously not the whole book.
So, like, what is a stage reading? I'm not... Assume I have no knowledge on theater
okay.
whatsoever.
Most people probably don't know what that is. So it's a performance, I guess you can call it, where the actors sit, and there's no movement on stage. They're basically just sitting like you and me right now, and they're reading off a script.
Okay.
And they do the voice inflections and all of that, but usually there's no movement. With the one we did, I did incorporate the movement. So I did have them walk around what they were supposed to and meet with their scene partners, all while reading on this booklet. And actually, a lot of them were off script, so they didn't even have to look at their book by the time we got to performance. So that was really cool, and we did it at the Guru in Mid-City by circa 19-something. I forget the name of it.
I didn't even know we had a theater called the Guru.
Well, it's not a theater, it's a venue.
Oh, okay.
It's a venue spot, and it's really small. But I remember, I think they only sat, maybe 30 people, and we sold out. And I just remember me being so excited. Yeah, I sold out 30 people. But it was our first thing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So why did you go the nonprofit route over for-profit?
So I wanted something that would give back to the community and not necessarily like make it for, I want this for me, right? Like it wasn't just for me. It was for something bigger than myself. And so when creating it, I said, well, first of all, creating a theater company of any sort is a big risk.
Creating any company is a big risk.
Sure. But the arts in general are sort of, I don't want to say this, but they're sort of dying in a way, right? People don't support specifically theater as well as they did in the past. And so it was a big risk. But overall, I just wanted something that would reflect our interest in helping the community. And I think a nonprofit was the right way to go.
So that's incredible, the fact that you're able to kind of see and put this vision into place and then ultimately figure out a way to execute and what's going to accomplish that vision. So going down that nonprofit route, I mean, how did you go about picking like that first piece y'all were going to do, and what kind of relationships did you have with the venue to let them agree to it? Were they charging a fee? Kind of what was that structure in that setup?
Yeah, so they were charging a fee, but I do want to say the Guru, when we started off, they were very helpful. They're not to throw anybody under the bus, but there's a lot of venues here in Baton Rouge that would want to charge me an eyeball, and I'm like, hey, I'm not there yet, but we'll talk later.
Our first table read, like, come on, give us some breaks.
Yes, exactly. And so when I because I contacted multiple venues, and the Guru was kind of the first one where I said, okay, this is doable. We can do this here. And it was the perfect spot for it. But in regards to picking the material, I wanted something that people knew about. I didn't want to pick something that no one has heard of before, especially here in Baton Rouge. I think people are more prone to going to things that they're comfortable with. They already know kind of the feel for the story.
Right.
And so I'm glad that I picked such a huge and important story for our first piece.
So then, once you kind of had that first piece, how did you promote it? What were your avenues of getting the word out there? I mean, because Baton Rouge, you can't really go around on light posts and just put a staple up saying, hey, we've got this play coming on. So kind of how did y'all get the word out?
Yeah, so social media, obviously, is a huge factor in any business. So there was a lot of social media posts about the show. Well, first off, I had to post about auditions.
Right.
And so that's the main thing at first, because you need a cast to do the show. So what I did, and everyone laughs when I tell them this, is I followed so many people on Instagram, just people that went to school at LSU for theater, people that have been big in the theater scene here in Baton Rouge. And I just started getting all these follows back, and I'm like, okay, we're going somewhere with this. People are going to know about us. And we posted the audition notice, and we casted very quickly. I mean, it was a cast of 8 or 9 actors, and that's that's a big deal for a first production.
Well, yeah, a no-name anybody coming
Exactly.
into town saying, hey, we're doing this production. Who wants to be a part of it?
Exactly. And people, jumped on it.
That's
very
incredible.
quickly. Yeah, I think the name helped. The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
Right.
Who doesn't want to play a role in The Great Gatsby?
Exactly. So I think that helped. And that was my intention, was to, we need to put something out there that people know and that will spread the word quickly. And it did.
Good. So, how many of y'all done to date so far?
Oh my goodness, how many productions? We've done 4.
Okay.
4 productions, and then we're coming up on the 5th one, which is the Shawshank Redemption. The last one we did was the biggest production, Student Body by Frank Winters, and that was a big cast of LSU students. So that was really cool to get to work with LSU students and then perform it at LSU.
So you got to perform what?
The LSU Studio Theater.
Okay.
In the Music and Dramatic Arts Building. Yeah, so it was really surreal when we got that opportunity. I never would have thought we would have got there so quickly to be able to perform in such a theater.
Well, it's just probably a testament as to what y'all were doing and how y'all were able to accomplish it, with the fact that, did they reach out to y'all? Did y'all reach out to them?
No, we reach out to everyone. People probably think we're nuts, but that's how you get stuff done. I've come to.
100%.
You have to have initiative, and this is something I tell everyone when they ask me for advice: is you have to put in the work. You have to have initiative, and you have to go out and sometimes look for what you want. Because no one's going to come and say, here you go. That would be awesome.
Right,
but no one's going to do that.
That's not how it works.
Right.
And I've, on that very breath, it's like I've kind of taken this notion in my head. It's like, okay, you're the only one really thinking about your business at a certain level, right? Now, when you get to the size of some companies and whatnot, that a lot of people are thinking about you and trying to get in your ear.
Right.
But when you're growing and you're first starting out, just assume nobody knows who you are and nobody is even thinking about you.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're just going to sit behind your desk or sit wherever you're at and just be like, okay, business is going to come.
Right.
The "We're now open" sign has been placed on the window. Lights are on. Come on, people.
No, that's not how it works. And I do want to say I've had help other than my husband. I do have a co-founder, Victoria Brown, and she's our costume designer as well. She went to Savannah College of Music and Arts and Design. And she's fantastic. She's a mother like me, and I remember us connecting during COVID and saying, hey, when this is over, do you want to start a theater company with me? And she's like, heck yeah. I'm like, yes, this is the kind of people I need. And she's been with me throughout this amazing journey. And we have a whole team, but it's like you say, it's very hard for others to look at this as their baby when you started it.
Yeah.
And so I tell my team members all the time is this is as much as yours as it is mine. We're all on the same mission. So, yeah.
That's exciting. So what is y'all's, when is the Great, not the Great Gatsby, when
Shawshank.
is Shawshank coming out? When are the showings going to be? And where?
So the run is at the LSU Studio Theater on campus. And it runs from August 25th to the 27th. So it's just one weekend.
Perfect.
And we have, oh my God, I just want to give a shout out to my cast. We literally have an A-list cast. They're all men. They've all worked so hard. And they're so excited to bring this very respected story to the stage. It's only been performed, I want to say maybe 5 times on stage throughout the world. And so to bring it here to Baton Rouge is very exciting. No pressure, but we're a little nervous. It's funny because everyone comes up to me and when I tell them we're going to produce a Shawshank Redemption, they're like, "Oh, I love the movie so much," and I'm like, "Okay."
It's going to be a little bit different than the movie, okay?
It's going to be different. It's the same story, but the way it's casted is different, and you bring your own personal touch to it with the directing, and so I think the city will appreciate it.
So how do you go about selecting what production you're going to do within each of these sets?
So, like I mentioned before, you want something where people are going to buy tickets and go see.
Well, of course.
So you always take that into consideration. But you also want something that's going to make a statement.
Yeah.
Right? You want something where people will go see it and say, oh my God, that was amazing, or that made me feel this or feel that. And so with the selections, I always make sure of asking myself, how would I feel if I was someone from the community and hearing this story being produced here? How would I feel if I was an audience member and watching this story? And so I always ask myself that, and I always ask other people too, hey, do you think this is a good idea? Usually they say yes, because I'm a genius. But so it's not just me. It's I do ask what is needed, and I think a story like this will bring a lot of people in the theater, which is our goal.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to sell tickets and get people in the door to see what y'all are doing.
And just to, have the experience of going to an actual theater. I mean, it's so heartbreaking to see that people are just always on their phones watching Netflix, which that's fine, right? But I think that there should be more work put into actually getting ready and going to a theater like people used to do.
Yeah.
And exposing the children to that as well. That I think is so important, because if not, we're going to let this medium die. And I don't think anyone wants that.
No, and there's a time and a place for each medium, right?
Yeah.
So there's a time for digital medium and there's a time for in-person medium, which being in person is always going to be the better route to go.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you can't make it, okay, here's where you can consume it elsewhere.
Right.
But first and foremost, you got to come and see it in person.
Exactly.
And there is, I've even started seeing like podcasts do this, where they'll actually record live shows and then they'll wait for like a month to release it. So if you were able to get tickets and go there, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to watch it. I got to be there for that. Yeah. And it's really powerful. It's
just the experience.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not going to feel the same watching it at home on your phone or on the TV.
Oh,
it's a whole different experience. And so that's what I really advocate for, is getting people into the beautiful buildings that are the theaters and experience the story overall.
Right. So, and moving and transitioning into your next thing that you do.
How much time we got?
Oh, we got time.
Okay.
So moving into your next endeavor is the Romans organization.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
So the charity that me and my husband founded, the Romans 1212 Foundation, is a charity that helps children with medical costs relating to the thymus transplant. A little backstory about that is my son is actually a heart patient, so he was born with a heart defect, and he had to undergo surgery days after birth. So that was hard. He's a trooper, but when that happened, when they went and cut him to correct his heart, they noticed that he was missing his thymus. And when I say thymus, people are like, what the heck is that?
That was my first reaction, was like, okay, yes. I'm assuming that's a bad thing.
Yes, it is a bad thing. So the thymus usually is very close to your heart.
Okay.
And it's actually pretty large. And its function is, it helps the immune system. So the thymus produces T cells, and those T cells are what helps us humans fight infection, disease, all of that bad stuff. And so without it, we wouldn't be able to survive. And so when they went inside, they said, oh, well, we don't see his thymus. And so they diagnosed him with what is called complete the George syndrome, which means no thymus in the body.
Okay.
And so we said, okay, we were just battling his heart surgery. We're like, okay, this is next.
Now we got something else to do.
Yes. What do we do? Right. That's the first thing you ask. Okay, what can be done? And they said, well, there's a hospital in the U.S. that does thymus transplants, but the wait is about 2 to 3 years. And so we will put you on the wait list. And we said, okay, but what do we do in the meantime? And they said, well...
What are the risks, or what do you have to do to mitigate whatever's happening?
So basically, they told us that we would have to keep our son in a bubble. And this was, keep in mind, this was during COVID. And so we had that going on.
Okay.
And so they said, when you bring him home, when you leave from the hospital, he can't go anywhere. And you can't have anyone come see him. So your child has to live in a bubble.
Really?
Yeah, and so that was to us the most hard thing. Like the heart stuff was hard, but when they told us your baby can't really experience life the way he should because he doesn't have a thymus, that was to us like just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And so, we did what any parent would do and say, okay, that's what we're going to do. If that's going to, keep my baby boy from catching something and potentially dying, then that's what we have to do, right, until he gets this transplant. Well, we got home, and I'm a very impatient person. so we got home, and
the Googling started.
And I started looking up, okay, what does this mean? What can I do, right? And as I was researching, I found that there was another hospital in London that also did thymus transplants.
Okay.
And I said, okay, well, let me contact them. And so I did, and I followed a Facebook group that had a lot of information about thymus transplants. And I asked, what's the cost? What's the wait time? And the families were so sweet and so informative. They said, well, there's no wait time in London. And I'm like, okay.
How long to get a passport?
That was a whole other thing. Shout out to Garrett Graves, by the way. He helped us get a passport for my son very quickly.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so we're very appreciative to him. Such a good man. But anyways, yeah, so then there was the, we had to contact them and talk to the doctors. And while doing that, we, of course, asked, okay, well, how much is it going to cost? And they said, well, your insurance in the U.S. is not even valid over here. So you don't have any help. You don't, insurance will not cover anything. And we were like, okay, how much is it going to cost? $500,000.
Are you serious?
Just for the transplant and the medications and everything that he would have to,
gosh.
Yeah. And so we were like, okay. And every cell in my mom brain was saying, you need to try to do this. You need to try to get your baby over there.
Of course.
Yeah. And so I had a long discussion with my husband, and we talked about it. And I said, this is something that I feel like God is telling me to do, is fight for my son. And so we did everything we could. We did a yard sale, which now thinking about it sounds so funny, a yard sale to get $500,000, right?
Big yard,
yeah, a lot of stuff. But we did that, and we asked friends and families, for donations. When we did the yard sale, it was funny. One of my friends that I hadn't talked to since high school contacted me, and she worked for the news here in Baton Rouge. Her name is Anna. She reached out when she saw the yard sale post on social media, and she said, hey, we want to cover this story. I'm like, okay, absolutely, thank you. And so one of her co-hosts came out and did a story of us, and you wouldn't imagine the amount of people that drove up to our home and donated way much more than what a stuffed animal at a yard sale would cost. And so seeing just the goodness and the community here was overwhelming. I remember this lady drove up and she gave us a check for $3,000. Just
holy smokes.
Yeah, with her mask and everything because it was during COVID. She came out and she gave us a check, and then she ran back to her car, and we were like, thank you.
What's your name?
Exactly. What's your name? Thanks. But it was just such a beautiful experience. Even though we were going through such a hard time in our life, I just remember feeling so grateful for people that I never even met.
Yeah.
And so with that and all the donations that we got from family and friends, we were able to do it.
That's wow.
Yes. Yeah.
So how long did it take y'all from start to finish?
Not long. It was maybe 2 or 3 months.
That's it?
Yes.
60 to 90 days?
Yes.
Holy
I know.
smokes.
When you talk about miracles, right? Listen to this. So we contact the doctor in London, And we say, hey, doc, we got the money. We're going.
Where do we send the money?
Exactly.
And then they say, oh,
Exactly.
it's actually, you need euros. It's 500,000 euros.
That would have been something. No, we made
US
sure.
dollars.
That would have been something. No, we asked, okay, what's the next step, right? We got the money. We're ready to go. What do we do? And Dr. Graham Davies, which he's retired now, but he said, well, what we need to do is you need to get some blood drawn from your son and you need to expedite it over here to us because we need to run some tests here because they obviously need to make sure they have their tests on their end
Right.
other than the ones
And
here.
they've got to have, I'm assuming this requires a certain match, so they've got to have a right match from a donor.
Yes, exactly. And so that's what we did. We had help, of course, from Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital, and we expedited that as soon as possible over there because it could only be out for so long, you know,
Right.
the blood before going bad. And so that was stressful. But 2 weeks felt like 2 years. 2 weeks after that, we got an email from Dr. Davies in London, and he said, hey, you're not going to believe this, but his blood is showing that he is producing T cells. And so we were like,
Hold the phone.
wait.
Back up. Back up a little bit.
What? And he was like, yeah, it seems like his body is now producing T cells. And so what we think is happening is he has a partial thymus somewhere else in his body. And we were like, okay, well, what does that mean? Right? Because, I mean, all this time we were expecting us to go over there and have this transplant.
Right.
And now you're telling me, well, you don't need it. Okay, well, what do we do now?
We have 500,000 in
We
a
have
bank
all
account.
this cash.
What do we do with the money?
Yes, exactly. What do you do with the money? So we obviously shared the good news with everyone that donated, and we asked them, look, we want to create a charity for other people that...
I was about to say, how many people said, I'll take my money back?
One person.
Really?
Yes. One person, and I swear, one person out of, I mean, the hundreds of people that donated, only one person, and you know, it's fine. But
Sure, have it back.
yeah, I mean, yeah. And that's what we were expecting, right? We were expecting for people to be like, yeah, like, you know, that's awesome. Okay, you know, yeah, you can refund my money here.
Here's
and that,
my Venmo.
Yeah, and that was fine. Like, we were overjoyed, right, with the news.
Right.
But we also knew that because we went through this and because we believe this to be a miracle, we wanted to create something to help other people that, you know, do need to undergo the thymus transplant and that don't get an email back saying, hey, you don't need it, right? And so we knew that we had to create something, and that was giving all the glory to God. And we did, and hence the Romans 12:12 Foundation. Yeah, so we put all the donations that everyone gave into the charity, and we've been able to help, I want to say 5 or 6 families now with funds.
That's incredible. So, like, paying it all the way through or paying a portion?
Paying a portion.
Okay.
Yeah, paying a portion.
But I mean, either way, like, being
Yeah.
able to get them there to get that transplant and
Yeah.
to get what they need, that's powerful.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember, you know, there was this one lady, a single mother, that wanted her mom there with her during the transplant for her son, and we were able to cover the cost for her mother to be there with her at all times here at Duke University Hospital. And so that was very touching to me because without the support going through all of that, I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, when you get in a situation like that, especially the medical situation where you just, we're not all doctors, you know, we don't know what to expect or what's actually happening. And so you kind of get this panic moment as a parent where you're like, what does this mean? You know, like, what do we have to do to get our child better? And you do anything and everything.
You do anything.
So when you see a community rally around you and your family and say, we're going to help you out in whatever way we can, you always, you know, when you get that email, if you're fortunate enough, you're like, okay, I got to give this back. Like, what can I do to help other people? Yeah.
Yeah, and we, you know, definitely saw the goodness here in Baton Rouge of, you know, just the giving community and it was, I mean, I was in tears, you know, for half of the time that was happening. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, now that I'm thankful now that I don't cry when I tell the story, but when it just happened, I mean, I just couldn't help it. But yeah, very grateful. That's how the Romans 1212 Foundation came about. So if you want to donate.
Yeah, where can they go to learn a little bit more about Romans 1212?
So we have a website, the Romans 1212 Foundation. We also have a Facebook group. So if you go to either one of those, you can find a donation link. Or if you just want to learn more about what the thymus is or the thymus transplant, we do have information in there as well. And we do have Stephen's story. So my son's name is Stephen. We have his story there in case anybody wants to read the miracle that happened in our life.
Yeah, no, I mean, it gives parents hope, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to link y'all's website and everything in the show notes of this episode so people can easily click and find it and whatnot.
Awesome. Thank you.
So you're welcome. And moving into your next endeavor with your radio career, you know, you've got this blossoming radio career that you do a show used to be Tuesdays, but now I'm assuming it's a different day.
So so let me elaborate. So yes,
let's back up a little bit. How'd we get behind a microphone?
So someone just said, "Hey, you look like you would be good for TV. Here you go." No, I was actually in a pageant in New Orleans, Miss Latina New Orleans, and I got to meet local media companies in Louisiana because they, did stories on what was happening. And I met this very incredible man, Alberto Padron. He's going to be watching this, so shout out. That just saw something in me and said, "Hey, I believe you can do so much more with your talents and your personality." And I said, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" I remember he interviewed me here in Baton Rouge actually, and we just clicked instantly. And I think we knew we were going to be friends off the bat. It's kind of like me and you, like I feel like a friendship going on here.
Yeah, we're biffles at this point.
We're best friends now. And so, yeah, it was just very smooth. And he is the founder of Caras and Faces Media, which is a bilingual media company. We inform the Louisiana Latinos, which are a lot of us, by the way. We're kind of all over the state.
Y'all are everywhere.
We're everywhere.
I mean, so we did a tequila tasting this year for Cinco de Mayo, and Ozzy Fernandez and the owner of Mestizos, I'm blanking on his name, Jim Urdialis. They're like, there's a whole community over here that we can do some really cool events with between Modesto and Mestizo.
Yeah.
Like, let's figure something out. So I was like, this is eye-opening to me. Yeah. Okay, like, how can I help?
Yeah, and I love that. I love when people are open to helping, right? Yeah. And being a part of these different cultures. And we love to see that.
Yeah. Like I'm just a Cajun boy from the bayou. That's all I got.
I mean, y'all do have some really good food, though. I mean, it's up there, with...
As well. You as well.
Exactly. Yeah, it's up there with us. So, I mean, you got your whole thing going on. But anyways.
So what exactly do y'all do? It sounds like beforehand you were telling us, like, you don't really plan the shows. You kind of just show up and say, hey, here's what we're going to talk about.
We work really closely with La Tropical radio station, which is based out of New Orleans. And we are on there every Tuesdays at 7 p.m. And so I'm not all there all the time or every Tuesday, but when I do go, it's very random. I don't know if maybe us being Latinos, we're just not prepared, but we're just kind of wing it all the time. It works out. But yeah, we just usually pick a topic when we're there and we're like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. And we also do giveaways on the show, just different Hispanic events that are happening throughout the state. People call into the radio and we're like, hey, you want a free ticket? Here you go. And so that's cool. That's cool to see. I'm really glad that I get to do that and be integrated in the Latino community because I married a really white man. And so sometimes it's hard, to find the balance, I guess, of being Latina enough, but then also maybe people not viewing you as Latina. And so it's really weird. And so I'm grateful to have that part of my life where I do get to go and interact with the Hispanic community and give back as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're able to still get that side of you kind of fulfilled and be involved and also give back in a certain way and just kind of be informative and still speak the culture, you know?
Exactly.
Still live within it.
Exactly.
So that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun. I've gotten to go to what's it called, the Lafayette Arts and Music Festival that they do every year, and we were hosting it, and I remember that was my first time getting up on a stage and hosting as Stephanie Bartage. Usually when I'm on stage, I'm someone else, right? I'm a character, but so that's been fun, and that's been very it's been a learning curve for sure. It's hard to be myself. It's not hard to portray a character, but when I have to be myself, it's a little tricky.
Isn't it crazy?
It's so crazy.
It's like, so when you get into the realm of acting and you get into the realm of portraying characters. So I did a little speech and debate in high school, and so we would act out books as part of our speech. So there would be like duo interpretation or like humorous interpretations. So you'd have to really act out these books and these scenes and portray these different characters. And when you're in that element, you're like, hey, who is this person? And how do they act? How do they walk? What do they say? Do they have a slang? Do they have this little tics? What are they?
Yeah.
But we never think about that as ourselves because we kind of just go about doing life.
Yeah.
But then when you're on a stage and you have the role reversed and you're like, oh, wait, who is Stephanie?
Exactly.
How do I sound? What are my tics?
Exactly.
What do I do? You know?
We're so hard on ourselves. I think that's what it is, you know, you're thinking the whole time, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? Or maybe I shouldn't have said this. Or maybe I shouldn't stand this way. I don't know, right? It's all these things that you ask yourself. And so I'm grateful to have the opportunity to do things like this because I'm learning a ton.
Right.
I'm learning a ton about what I'm capable of as me.
Yeah, and you kind of are able to step into yourself and step into your role of who you are, which kind of shifts us along to your final segue of your pageantry. I was looking for the word and found it. The pageantry. So how did you get involved in that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, my first pageant was Miss New Orleans Latina. I remember getting on Facebook and looking at I guess I'll call it the casting notice, and I looked at the requirements, and usually in past years, you couldn't compete if you were a mom, you couldn't compete if you were of a certain age, and you couldn't compete if you were married. So there was all these different requirements.
If you were married?
Yes.
What does your marital status impact your ability
I don't know.
be? I mean, not that in the other ones are like, why do those matter anyways? But it's like married, like, okay, okay, mom, maybe it's like, oh, I can't come because my kid got sick or something, right? But it's like married, like, okay.
I'm not sure. But yeah, that was always weird to me too. And so when I was looking over the requirements, I saw that it was basically open to anybody that wanted to come and compete. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. I think I want to do that because I'm the type of person, I just jump in and do things and then I figure it out, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I do like the world of beauty, right? I do like the world of fashion. And so I went in very naive, thinking like, oh my God, I'm going to look so beautiful in this dress and everything. But pageantry is hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, the amount of work you need to put in to even stand out amongst all these other beautiful girls, right, is so hard, but so fulfilling. And it's kind of going back to being on the radio or, you know, working with the bilingual media company is I'm learning so much about being me, about being Stephanie. Because in pageantry, you have to talk a whole lot about yourself. A whole lot.
A little bit of self-promoting.
Yeah. And, you know, for them to be like, wow, okay, she's doing all these things. She would be a great queen, right? And so it's a lot of talking about yourself, but also the empowerment that I felt going in to the pageant world of me being a mother, me being a wife, me being Hispanic, right? There was all these things that were so much bigger than myself. It then became, I'm representing so many people, so many women. And I loved that. I loved that for me, and I loved that for all these other women. And so I stuck with it. I didn't win. But I did learn a lot, And when I didn't win, it stung. It hurt really bad, and I'm like, I'm never doing this again. How dare they? Right? It's
right.
just.
But then you're
natural.
like, it's your first time.
It's my first time, and after a while, after I got out of the anger mode, I'm like, wait, I actually really like this.
There you go.
And I want to go back and do more. And so that's when I signed up for Miss Louisiana USA, because it was the first year that they were also allowing mothers and married women to compete. And I'm like, I have to make a stance. I have to go and be present and show that, yes, we can do the same thing, right, as other ladies. And that was a whirlwind. That was a lot of fun. But it was also like jumping into a pool of sharks, because it's a whole other ball game. I mean, it's a pageant of that, caliber. Like, these girls have been doing this since they were little.
Yeah. We've had Mariah Clayton on the show.
Oh.
And she was going into that avenue of like, oh yeah, this everything that you've got to do, everything you've got to be, you've got to portray, and it's not easy. It's not, simply just walking out there and doing your thing and saying, okay, great, where's my crown? Like, I won this thing. Like, there's so much that goes into it that when you think about it initially, like, oh, it's a pageant, whatever, nothing big deal. But then you talk to somebody who's been through it, and you're like, holy smokes.
Yeah. I mean, for Miss Louisiana USA, there was girls that have competed in the pageant for years and never got a crown. And here I am going in like, I'm going to win this thing.
I love the winner's mentality you've got. I'm all about it.
Thank you. I mean, it hurts more, though, when you don't win. And when you don't even place, it's like, oh, man.
But you did the thing. I did the thing.
I did it, and I'm glad that I did. And I'm, moving on to the next pageant, which is IUM, International United Miss in Orlando, representing Miss Baton Rouge. So I'm excited.
So how did you land that gig?
So
if you tell me it's another Facebook casting post, I swear.
Instagram, actually.
Look, I love the tenacity that you've got. That's just like, look, if it's out there, I'm going for it.
No, but with all honesty, I mean, I did see them on Instagram, but with Miss Louisiana, I did say, okay, this is a heck of a pageant. I need some guidance. And so I did look for a pageant coach. Yes, that is a thing.
Oh, yeah.
That is a thing. And my pageant coach, Erin Husbands, is very talented. And she is also Latina, so we kind of have like a connection going there. But she helped me a lot. And she, after Miss Louisiana, said, yeah, I think this would be a good system for you to go in and see if you like. And I mean, there's research, right, that you do too. It's not like just jumping into something. You do research it and say, okay, is this something that I want to tackle on? And IUM definitely seems like something that I will learn a lot from and also have a good time. It's very family oriented, and so I can bring my little boy with me to, the dinners, the parties that they host within the competition, which is a week. And so I really liked that, because being away from my son for too long, I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't. Right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember for Miss Louisiana, we were only away for one night, and I was bawling backstage, crying, and the other girls are looking at me like I'm insane. Like, why are you crying? I'm like, because I miss my son. And most of them didn't have babies, and so it was, like, it was just really weird.
Can't relate, sorry.
Exactly, and so it was really weird, but it's a thing. It's a thing, and, mom guilt is a thing that people don't talk about, but it's very real. And so I wanted something that I can bring him along, and for him to see me as well do all these things, because I think that's so important for our kids to see their mom or dad tackle on all these things. And so when they're older, they can say, oh, well, my mom or dad did this, like I can try many things as well. And so that's really important for me, for him to see that.
Yeah, and you're kind of paving that path of like, look, anything's possible.
Right.
Look, everything I'm doing, look, everything that I'm involved with. Like, you can do whatever you set your mind to. Yeah. So I love that about you.
Thank you.
So as we kind of start to wrap up the show, we have a set list of questions we like to ask everybody. Okay. Very hard-hitting, powerful questions.
Okay.
So the first one is, what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Something that I did as a kid. I was a really good singer. That's weird, but I really did have a good voice,
Did you lose your voice?
Yeah, I did. I don't know what happened. I mean, your voice changes.
Well, so you need to do some musicals, is what you're saying.
I do. That's so funny. I think that's why I don't hate musicals, but I stay away from them because I'm a little mad that I can't be in a musical because I don't have the voice. I mean, I can get there if I wanted to, right, with practice and with coaching. But yeah, that was always something weird. I remember singing when getting ready as a little girl, and my mom was probably just being nice, but she would say I had a really good. I think I did. But yeah, I just lost it. I don't know what happened.
See, I never had a voice.
Oh, that's sad.
I never had a voice and had a face for radio. You know what? That's what they say.
Yeah.
So, what are 3 lessons you've learned along the way? I mean, you've got this first nonprofit that you created to kind of be this cohort for people in theater. Then you created this amazing nonprofit to help folks get this life-saving cure. Then you kind of dialed in on getting behind a microphone and being a voice for your community, and finally you're just actually physically representing your community. Yeah. So you've got to have some lessons you've learned along each and every one of these paths.
You would think I did. I'm there with you. I'm going along for the ride. No, I think the biggest thing for me overall is having confidence in yourself. Without confidence, you can't really grow.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds harsh because there's so many people that battle with that, with having confidence, but it's so important when tackling on anything. I mean, you have to have the confidence to sit here and talk to the person you're interviewing. I have to have the confidence to walk into my rehearsals in 30 minutes and direct 12 men, right? Like the only
powerfully, yeah.
So that would be my main advice to everyone is look for things that feeds into you growing your confidence. Don't limit yourself. Try new things. If I would have never listened to my boss Alberto when he said, "Hey, come on, you're doing this radio thing with me. You're getting up on this stage at this festival with me." If I would have been like, "Heck no, I'm not doing that. You're crazy," I wouldn't have grown. I wouldn't have learned anything. I wouldn't have known, oh, this is something I want to do. So that would be my second one. And my third one, I am a Christian, and so I have to say, I think prayer is powerful in regards to what happened to my family with my son's condition. I do believe that there is a loving God, and He is looking out for us. And when I was going through all these things, there is moments where you do get angry. I mean, we're human.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
You do get angry, and you do ask the question, why? Why me? And that can seem different to many people. But I want to let people know that that's okay. As long as you can get out from there and you can say, no, this is what I truly believe, and this is what I know can happen. I think that that's powerful, and I think that prayer is powerful, and just going with your gut. I want to say one last thing. When Stephen was diagnosed with his heart condition, it was during COVID, and so my husband couldn't be there at the diagnosis. They actually diagnosed him in utero, so he was in my belly when they knew about his heart. And I just remember a hand on my shoulder when the doctor was telling me this. And I remember something coming over me telling me everything's going to be okay. And I've had that feeling throughout, and everything has been okay.
Yeah.
And so, listen, sometimes we're so quick to doing things and so quick to reacting that I think we need to slow down and listen to what God or life or, what you believe in is telling you at the moment. So, yeah.
I love all of those.
Okay,
That's
good.
Fantastic. So, what is something that you love about Baton Rouge? I feel like you should have a prepared answer, because I'm sure you're going to get some questions about this, right? Being Miss Red Stick, you got to have an answer. What do you love about Baton Rouge?
He just put me on the spot, y'all.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm prepping you.
Oh my gosh.
Prepping you.
Wait.
I'm your coach today.
I love that. Okay, I actually got coached today in the morning too, so this has been a really long day. I love the people. I mean, I know that sounds like, oh my God, Stephanie, really, you're going to say the people, but really, I've been through so much And I've met enough people here in Baton Rouge to know that the community we have is so caring and so loving and so open to learning or going or, meeting new people, new things. It just takes a little push for them, but they do want to. And I think that's the important thing, is always community. And I think in everything that I've been doing with the pageant, with the media company, with the charity, with the theater, one thing stands, and that's the support that is seen in Baton Rouge for me. A Latina girl coming from New Orleans, right? But I have seen that support. I mean, people like you, like I'll include you, right? People like you that have opened your show for me to come talk about the things that I've been doing and the things that are important to me is a big step. And so I'm grateful.
Absolutely. I'm grateful for having you on.
Thank you.
So for the final question, okay. What can I do to help you?
You got some money on you?
I might have $1.
No, we're both broke. Okay. The main thing, I mean, you're already doing it. You're already giving me exposure for me to talk about the things that are important in my life. I think the main thing that I want to highlight is the charity and the theater. Those are closer to my heart than anything. I do want people to support the arts. I mean, I know that's heard a lot here. Support the arts, support local artists. But it's so important. I mean, if you think about it, what would our life look like without art? Like, if you sit and think about it for us, and art and that's a lot. That's a big category.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that go into art.
Yeah, exactly. And so really think about that and say, okay, how can I support my local artists? I think it's so important to support the people here in your city that are doing things. Like you were telling me before, you wanted to create this to highlight people. And so, stuff like that. And also with charities, I think it's so important to give back when you're being blessed. I think it's important to bless someone else.
Well, I will do my best to continue passing on the blessings.
Just as long as you give me a shout out, that's fine. I'm good with that.
You got it. Look, well, thank you so much for your time today, Stephanie Bartage.
You.
I really appreciate it.
My husband's gonna be so mad. He's like, why is he pronouncing it like that?
We'll spell it out emphatically on
okay, like all caps,
like how to pronounce it.
Oh yeah. I should do it on my Facebook. Like some people have that on their Facebook.
Like how to pronounce your name. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
And thank you for embracing the South Louisiana heat out here at Building 5.
That's
We've
fine.
got the fans going, but it's a beautiful day out here.
It actually is. I mean, it's hot, but it's beautiful. We have the fans, and shout out to our camera guy, by the way. You know what? Behind the scenes, people don't get enough credit.
Yeah.
And so I just want to highlight all the crew because y'all do so much work. Y'all make us look good. I mean, not that we need a lot to look good, but,
There's the self-confidence. I love it. Look, absolutely. Look, just pointing here. I'll handle it, But yeah, Dylan rocks the boards for sure.
You rock, Dylan.
So, well, thank you, Stephanie, for coming on. And everybody, if you're interested to learn more about what they've got going on within, the Romans 1212, as well as the Arts Coalition here in Baton Rouge, the Theater Coalition, I'm sorry, we're going to link all that up into the show notes and make sure that you can easily access it. And, go check it out. Check out their showing coming up in August about Shawshank Redemption. We're going to hopefully be able to get some dates and put all that in the show notes as well. So y'all just check everything out that Stephanie's got going on. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you everybody else for watching or listening to the show and whatever platform you're consuming it. I know I am very much appreciative of your time, and the guests are as well. Hit that smash, that like button, that share button. Help us spread the word. Subscribe to the show. That helps us very, very much each and every way that you do that. And thank you so very much to the wonderful sponsors that bring you the show each and every week. Hear a little bit more about them right now.
Welcome to the brand new Falia mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falia mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falaya in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falaya, it's real estate reimagined.
Thank you so very much to Building 5 for becoming the latest sponsor of the Patty G Show. We are going to be filming once a month at Building 5. We're going to post about it on our socials so you can come and visit with us. Building 5 is an excellent food establishment if you're into sharing boards and really getting a creative menu. Misty and Brumby have done an excellent job of creating an environment that's warm, welcoming, and inviting for every single occasion. Go on over to Building 5 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and tell them that the Patty G Show sent you.
Imagine taxiing on a plane looking toward the end of the runway. It seems so far away, it's even hard to see it. And that's what the concept of retirement probably felt like when you were in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, way far in the distance, not visible or even a concern. But as you turn 50, something happens. Retirement suddenly seems like something real, something not too far away. In your 50s, you are rolling down the runway. Retirement is getting closer and closer, faster and faster, weeks and months zipping by. But are you even ready for a successful takeoff to retirement? Fear not, there's still runway left, but the time is now. Time to make progress, and time to get a plan. The Runway Decade will help you get organized, get energized, and give you the direction you need to take off to your desired retirement. The Runway Decade, building a pre-retirement flight plan in your 50s.
Thank you to Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge for making this show possible. Nick Pentis is a past guest. We love having him on. Listening to him talk about the culture they have over at Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge is really an incredible thing to hear. How they treat not only their employees, but every customer that walks through the door. You are more than just a number to them. They're going to give you that white glove concierge service every step of the way. They're going to make you feel like family and take what can be a stressful time in people's life, shopping for a car. They're going to make it so enjoyable and so pleasurable. You're going to want to go back there time and time again for every new vehicle. Thank you so very much for Mercedes-Benz of making this show possible. Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out, Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you. McLavy's Limited, a proud sponsor of the Patty G Show, has been serving the Baton Rouge area proudly for 40-plus years. Gentlemen and ladies, if you're shopping for your man, there is no other place in the Baton Rouge area to get your clothing, whether it's game day needs, everyday needs, business attire, formal attire, whatever you want. Go over there, see Frank and Ashley. It's a father-daughter duo. They do incredible things in their store. They will outfit you from as simply a shirt that you need for one evening or all the way to a full wardrobe overhaul. They're going to take care of you every step of the way, and be sure and let them know that Patty G Show sent you. The Patty G Show is proudly brought to you by Mimosa Handcrafted Jewelry. Mimosa Handcrafted Jewelry is a local business right here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They create handcrafted jewelry for everyday use, that special occasion, whatever it may be. Gentlemen, they've got amazing jewelry both for male and female. Everyone is their audience. You know, after years of experimenting with everything from ceramic jewelry, glass beads, and enamel, they've settled in on the ancient art of lost wax casting. is their main form of creating their work. They cast everything in bronze, sterling silver, and 14-karat gold. Every step of the way is done here right in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Proud sponsors of the Patty G Show. Mimosa Handcrafted Jewelers. Get out there and tell them that Patty G sent you, and they're going to take great care of you on your next order.